Hi, I'm Nicole Lewis-Keeber, and I'm the author of How to Love Your Business. And we are doing a read along. If you would like to grab a book for yourself, you can grab one on Amazon. You can download it to Kindle and start reading right away. If not, just stay along for the ride, and I'm going to be reading the entire book to you. I will be doing a chapter, a video, and whenever there is an opportunity to do an exercise at the end of the chapter, I'm going to walk you through that too. So think of this as a free online course based upon my book. And of course, I'm going to ad lib and add things in that might have been updated since the book was originally published. And also just a reminder that I have a learning difference and a processing disorder that has really impacted my own life and my business and that inner kiddo of mine. So I will do my best, but I will probably make some mistakes and have to rewind. And we will just keep that in because we don't do a lot of editing because perfectionism is not something we strive for here. So let's get started with chapter one, the book. Your relationship with your business. Have you ever experienced a moment where you felt like giving up? When you were at such a low point that you couldn't see your way out? When you had a choice to either quit or make one next right step to try and save yourself? Me too. I want to tell you about the moment when I almost gave up on my business and my dreams. I remember that morning very clearly. I still do. I had been in business for about 2 years. I was providing money mindset coaching to small business owners and entrepreneurs. I had never been a business owner prior to my coaching business, so I had a pretty steep learning curve. I was a business of one, and if something needed to be done, it was all up to me to do it. I had been juggling way too much at once. Learning business management, sales, marketing, copywriting, coaching my clients, developing frameworks, networking, and social media, and more, all at the same time that I was testing and changing my approach on how money and trauma are connected. To say I was worn out would be an understatement. I was feeling really frustrated and beat up, and worse, I felt like I was letting people down, even though there really wasn't a lot of evidence to support that. I couldn't complete all my daily tasks, and I was not as available to my clients as I would like to have been, or actually, I thought I should be. I was perfectly fine. I was giving them enough attention. Again, this is part of the problem, right? And I felt like I was letting my husband down because my business wasn't growing as fast as I thought it would. Again, it was perfectly fine. It was me not being realistic, right? And this was not the business that I had signed up for. So one morning I woke up at 5 a.m. feeling like a failure. I think it was a February, and nothing was working out, and I was completely exhausted. And when I was at war with myself, I mean, literally at war with myself. And as I lay in the dark behind my sleeping partner, I considered closing my business. I thought, you know what, I can't do this. And as far as I saw it, my options were to give in and quit, or I needed to change something so I could get through this unending struggle. So I got up and I went in the kitchen and put the coffee on, and then I waited for it to brew. I pulled out Elizabeth Gilbert's new book, Big Magic, and then I just opened it to a random chapter. I was hoping for some inspiration or a way to at least distract myself from the itty bitty shitty committee. That was a chorus of negative voices that had just convened in my head that morning. And the story that I opened the book up to was a story about botanist and author Dr. Wall Kimmerer. Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer, a professor at SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry. And the passage towards the end of Big Magic describes a moment in her environmental biology class each year where she asks students two questions. This is the big moment. The first question is, do you love nature? To which all hands go up. The second question is, do you believe that nature loves you in return? And this elicits an opposite response. All hands go down. At which point, Robin says, then we have a problem already. Gilbert went on to write that these earnest young world savers honestly believed that the living earth is indifferent to them. And then she goes on. This is Dr. Kimmerer. Ancient people did not see it this way. This is a direct quote out of her book. Ancient people did not see it this way. Needless to say, our ancestors always operated with a sense of being in a reciprocal emotional relationship with their physical surroundings. Whether they felt that they were being rewarded by Mother Nature or punished by her, at least they were engaged in a constant conversation with her. Robin believes that modern people have lost the sense of conversation, lost the awareness of the earth communicating with us just as much as if we are communicating with it. Instead, modern people have been schooled to believe that nature is deaf and blind to them, perhaps because we believe that nature has no inherent sentience, which is a somewhat pathological constraint because it denies any possibility of relationship. Without that sense of relationship, Kimmerer says, her students are missing out on something incredibly important, their potential to become co-creators of life. While reading that story, I had an epiphany. What Dr. Kimmerer emphasizes is that it is not only possible to have a relationship with a non-sentient being, it's a worthwhile project. Not only that, we can expect and demand that entity, be it nature, your house, your business, love you back. It was an aha so epic that it changed the course of my business and my life forever. And as I read the story, I kept saying to myself, I love my business, but I don't feel like it loves me back. In fact, I feel like my business hates me and that it's terrorizing me most days. So then I asked myself this question, if I'm feeling abused by my business, did I set it up to do that? The answer was clear to me, and it took my breath away. I had recreated old patterns of abuse from my childhood within the structure of my business. In essence and unconsciously, I had shaped my business to function as an abuser. This was the divine moment where all of the puzzle pieces started to connect for me. But of course, I wasn't done. I had to ask myself how this happened. And as a therapist, I knew that childhood trauma created patterns of behavior that continue to play out in future relationships. It's not uncommon for abused people to pick up the work of the abuser. By then engaging in self-abusive patterns, we use food, substances, work, and relationships to recreate the messed up patterns that we experienced. And it was clear to me that I had done this. I had let my business take over where my mother had left off. In my mother's eyes, I could do nothing right. She gave no positive feedback. She kept moving the finish line so that what success meant was always changing. She was demanding and demeaning, and I could never be right or experience satisfaction. In my business, I started each workday by giving away my power to an invisible they. Some days they were several people, while other days it was just one specific person. They directed me, they directed me in a way that could derail me project, it could derail my project, could derail, sorry, one project or my entire business. They became my mom all over again. I had let her become the boss, my taskmaster, and my unrelenting critic. I was allowing my business to treat me the same way that she had. Oh, this was such a profound experience and realization that it took me several days to really take it all in and process it. And what I learned is that when we start a business, we enter into a relationship, and that relationship needs to be defined and have intentions set around it. Without this clarity, we will default into old patterns of relating. I had already done the hard work of healing and changing my personal relationships so that they did not recreate those toxic patterns. And I had those toxic patterns that I had with my mother. But it had never occurred to me that I might transfer my old patterns into my business. I mean, who's looking for childhood trauma in their business? To make the deep and necessary changes, I relied on my experience as a therapist. I knew how to define what a healthy relationship looked like and what components were needed to make it successful. So that's what I worked with. Here's an overview of what I did, and I'll expand on it later chapters. Number one, I defined what the current relationship was. Number two, I detailed what I wanted the relation to look like. Number three, I identified with my business differently. Number four, I wrote a vision for what the future looks like. Number five, I formulated business boundaries. Number six, I set up a guideline for communication and relating to my business in a different way. After that momentous morning, I naturally began to see my clients and their businesses differently. And I stopped focusing on their money and their mindset because I saw that those two things, that those I saw that these two goals were symptoms of something deeper. Instead, I focused more on helping them to see how they were recreating their own childhood experiences, especially abusive patterns, within their businesses and to help them free themselves from those patterns. My work is now focused on helping people realize how childhood trauma has impacted their business relationships so that they can have healthier relationships overall. It really is my life's work 10 years later, and what I'm 100% committed to, even still. Years later, my business and I have a healthier partnership, one that has allowed me to bring my work to the world and help people change their lives as well. Imagine if I had chosen to give in to the despair. The despair I'd felt that one low morning instead of trying one more thing to feel inspired. I have since gone back and reread that pivotal story in Big Magic, and it has had no emotional charge around it at all. In fact, I had a hard time finding it in the book at one point. It was a case of the right idea at the right time. So, where do we go from here? Imagine what is around the corner for you. Imagine it. Can you achieve your big dreams with the current partnership that you have with your business? Or do you need to make some changes to feel more inspired and more supported? The stakes are high. Will you say yes to what comes next? I sure hope so.